Okay, so when I started to get this die ready, I had to cut the tips off the end. And as you can see, it is kind of hard plastic. So yeah, I'm just going to get that to focus in all better. There we go. So yeah, it's something that's a little bit hard. It kind of splattered my hand a little bit. You can kind of see a little bit of blue there. So just kind of be careful with that. But what I want to do is I want to make this loop purple. So what's nice is I've got this, the way I've got this radiator reservoir mounted is I can easily tilt it like I am right now. And I want to do purple, so we're going to start with the blue. And we're going to just see if we can squeeze some drops in here. So as you can see, I threw that blue in there, and I'm going to let the pump run and let it kind of dissipate it through the loop. And that was just a few drops, and we're barely getting any color on the blue. So I'm going to come back over here now, and I'm going to go ahead and go a little more all out this time, because I want this to be kind of more of a darker purple. So we squeeze some more dye in there. I'm going to let that kind of circulate through. And as you can see, this loop is starting to turn a little more blue now. It's still kind of a light blue, and it looks a little darker on camera than it does in person. But as you see, if it's not quite getting where you want it to go, then we'll just keep adding some more dye. And so I'm going to try to actually do this whole bottle here blue. And with the whole bottle of blue that I've got, I've actually still only got a light blue color on the fluid, and I'm wanting to go darker. Now, thankfully, Swiftech included more blue. So even though that was all I have of that particular vial, I have a whole nother vial. So let's see if I can get this a little darker, and then we'll start adding the red in. All right, I put 2 full vials of blue in there, and unfortunately this isn't quite as dark as I was wanting to go, and it's probably because of how white the fluid is. I would have to go a lot more dye to get it really, really dark blue. But that's okay. We're just going to use what's included, and so since I only had 2 of the dyes, that's what we'll do. But I'm sure getting dye would not be very complicated, so I wouldn't be that worried about it on a long-term solution. Now I'm going to start adding some of my red and getting this guy to look a little more purplish. And so see there, I just squeeze a little bit in, and I let the circulation effect run its course. And so as it's kind of mixing in there, I'm actually starting to get, I can see it's starting to work really good, and I'm getting a bit of that purple effect that I was going for. And might be still just a hair on the too much blue side, so I'm going to add a little more red. And there we go. Now, the more drops you add, the less control you're going to have on making this exactly the color that you want. But as you can see, it's not too terribly difficult. Mix a couple of colors, make it happen. Actually, that's about the right shade of purple. I wish it was a little darker, which would mean more dye. But with what I have right now, I'm really happy with that color. And yeah, that looks pretty dark on the camera, but that's okay. We'll get this light up a little bit more so you can see it better, because now we're going to play with the LED RGB lighting. All right, so let's look at what this iris controller does. So Swiftech has an RGB controller. It'll give you some really basic lighting. You'll see it here a little bit in the D5. You'll definitely see it in the block, and you'll definitely see it on these fans. And as you can see, though, I got to kind of reach and feel back here. But as you can see, it goes to different colors and different brightnesses. And that's about all it does. There's a purple color. There's whatever that is. There's some white, red, green, and then we're back to blue. So that's all the iris controller does. If we're really going to get the full effect out of this, we need to use the adapter that came that comes from motherboards. And so what happens here is this little guy is actually an addressable RGB splitter / adapter, and that allows us to use the motherboard header. Let's check out what that looks like. Alright guys, now I've got this thing tied into my motherboard header, and I was a little nervous about this because, let's just face it, RGB Fusion is not the greatest software sometimes, but it's working good for me right now, which is why I haven't touched it recently. So I've got just a basic color cycle going on. Don't forget, addressable RGB header. It'll have 5 volts. Do not plug it into a 12 volt header because you will burn out all these LEDs on here. So make sure you use 5 volt addressable. If you don't have that, then you need to use the iris controller instead of this adapter. But yeah, so right now I've just got a basic color cycle going on, and it's just kind of showing all those different colors. If I go to... so I wanted to go to the digital wave here. And this is really cool because this shows you what the RGB LEDs are capable of. And so you can see from here in the reservoir to the block all the way up to the fans, there is actual individual LEDs being addressed, giving you a rainbow of colors. So that's some really good color control on the hardware part. It's very compatible with various different levels of digital RGB control. But what kind of color options and cycles we'll have will depend on the motherboard, or if you're using an external controller, what kind of options those have. Needless to say, you're going to get way better options with the digital controllers like this on motherboards and stuff than Swiftech's Iris controller, which does not have a whole lot of options. So yeah, but otherwise the lighting looks fantastic. All right guys, that's all I'm going to do for this video, but I am going to be doing performance testing next, so expect that to be coming with some comparison results, and I will catch you soon.